Have you ever stood in front of your wardrobe of vintage pieces that you love, or maybe perused through Pinterest of your inspiration boards of vintage style and outfits and thought, how on earth am I actually supposed to make this work in real life? Or maybe you've been tempted to try vintage style, but worry that it might look more like a costume than an outfit. And let's face it, we've all been there. But here's the thing, you can wear vintage or vintage style every day and feel totally at ease doing it. Imagine heading off to work, running errands, or playing with your kids, or just having coffee with your friends, all while donning your vintage inspired look and feeling polished, comfortable, and most importantly, you. That's where Practical Vintage comes in. Practical Vintage is all about finding ways to incorporate vintage fashion and style into your everyday life without sacrificing comfort, convenience, or authenticity. It means appreciating the timeless elegance of vintage aesthetics while adapting them to suit our modern lifestyles and routines. For some, that might mean mixing true vintage pieces with contemporary basics. And for others, it's about embracing vintage-inspired reproductions that balance style and practicality. At its core, Practical Vintage is really a mindset. It's about celebrating the charm of the past while making it work seamlessly for the present. Today I'm going to share some simple, down-to-earth tips to help you style vintage and vintage-style outfits for everyday life. These tips will show you how to look put together without feeling overdone, so you can embrace vintage in a way that's practical and authentic to your lifestyle. The first thing to focus on is building your wardrobe around some really solid basics. These are going to be the workhorses for your closet. Pieces like A-line skirts, tailored trousers, versatile blouses, and my favorite, shirt dresses. Neutral colors like black, navy, and beige are fantastic because they mix and match so easily. Think of these as your foundation. For example, a simple pencil skirt can take you from a casual brunch to a business meeting just by swapping out your top, shoes, or accessories. Once you have these staples, you can add pops of color or more detailed pieces to really keep things interesting. This approach not only simplifies getting dressed, but it also keeps your outfits looking polished without being over the top. If you're feeling a little overwhelmed and need some guidance building your vintage wardrobe, I do offer personalized vintage style and beauty sessions. Together we can shop your closet and create a wardrobe that works best for your lifestyle and helps you feel polished and confident every day. You can find the details on my website, and I will also put the link in the description. I'd love to help you bring your vintage style to life. Vintage style doesn't mean you have to suffer through stiff or scratchy clothing. Many original vintage pieces were made from natural fibers like cotton, linen, and wool, which are breathable and very practical for all-day wear. If you're shopping for vintage-inspired clothing, you can look for fabrics or blends that actually include a little bit of stretch for added comfort. Natural fiber garments also make it easier to launder, so you can easily just pop them in the washer, and that way you don't have this pile of clothing just waiting to send off to the dry cleaners. And remember, you don't have to sacrifice comfort for style. There are plenty of modern reproductions out there that combine vintage aesthetic with the practicality of modern fabrics. Accessories can make or break an outfit, but they're also where we can let our personalities really shine through. The key is to accessorize thoughtfully. A structured handbag, a well-chosen hat, or a brooch can elevate your outfit without feeling like it's too much. For example, if I'm wearing a simpler outfit, I might add a statement brooch or a pair of gloves. Not only do these little touches really tie your look together, but they're also functional. A good hat can keep you warm, and a vintage-inspired bag can carry all of your essentials that you need without feeling out of place. I know one of the biggest fears that people have when starting to wear vintage is, will people think that I'm wearing a costume? And I get it. It's a valid concern. But here's the thing. If you feel good and confident in what you're wearing, that is going to shine through, and it's going to become your style, and it's not going to look costumey. To keep things from feeling too done up, balance your outfit with some modern or toned down elements. For example, pairing a vintage style dress with simple flats, or wearing a tailored vintage blazer with a pair of jeans. It's all about making it work for your lifestyle and comfort level. I believe that confidence starts with wearing clothes that make you feel good. And it's part physical comfort as well as emotional comfort. If a garment feels uncomfortable the moment you put it on, whether it's due to poor fit, unpleasant fabric, or being unsuitable for the weather, don't force it. Choose something else. Physical discomfort will always overshadow aesthetic beauty and ultimately hinder your confidence. Layering isn't just practical. It's a fantastic way to add depth and interest to your outfits. If you live somewhere with cold winters like I do, layering will quickly become your best friend. Start with a base layer like a lightweight blouse or dress, and build from there with a cardigan, a scarf, or a coat. And to make your layers work seamlessly, focus on complementary colors and fabrics that don't add too much bulk. And don't forget tights. Vintage style wool or opaque tights are not only great for obviously keeping you warm, but they can add a bit of charm to your look. And when it comes to outerwear, don't overlook the opportunity to accessorize your coat. I love adding a brooch to mine. It's just a simple way to make your outermost layer just as beautiful as the outfit underneath. After all, if you're going to have to cover up your look, why not make the coat just as eye-catching and stylish? Shoes are such an important part to any outfit. And while I love a good vintage heel, practicality matters. I've definitely had to rethink my footwear since I've moved to Vienna. I do a lot more walking and sometimes over cobblestone streets. So my footwear choices have definitely evolved to be more stable and structured options. You can look for options like block heels or even kitten heels or vintage style flats. They'll give you that classic look without making you miserable after a few hours. If you're walking a lot, there are reproduction brands that have great options that combine vintage aesthetic with modern comfort. Remember, looking put together does not mean that you have to suffer. Simplicity is key. You don't need a million accessories or elaborate pieces to achieve a vintage look. Sometimes the most polished outfits are the simplest: a tailored dress, a pearl necklace, and a pair of comfortable shoes. By focusing on a few well-chosen pieces, you're not only going to make your wardrobe much more practical for you, but you'll feel more confident wearing vintage every day. If your job or lifestyle doesn't allow for wearing vintage every day, there are still ways that you can express your vintage style. For 17 years, I worked as a massage therapist and esthetician, where my uniform was strictly a black shirt and black pants. While I couldn't wear vintage clothing, I used my hair and makeup as a way to show my personality and my love for vintage style. A classic red lip, a subtle cat eyeliner, or a vintage-inspired hairstyle can make a big impact without really feeling over the top. Whether it's just doing some 1940s curls or a sleek 30s wave, your hair and makeup can speak volumes about your personal style. And even if the rest of the outfit just has to be practical or is a uniform. Remember that vintage style isn't just about the clothes. It's about the details that make you feel the best version of yourself. I hope these tips make you feel a little bit more confident incorporating vintage style into your everyday wardrobe. Remember, it's all about finding what works best for you and your lifestyle. And if you would like a little bit more personal guidance, book a vintage style and beauty session with me. I will help you to build a look that feels authentically you. Plus, if you're part of my Victory Garden or New Look tiers on my Patreon, you will receive an exclusive discount on your sessions. Let me know in the comments if you have any go-to tips for wearing vintage, or if there are any topics that you would like me to cover in future videos. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.